the concept behind Microsoft Word and its other applications. The other content, maybe we might just have to do some notes on how the other content works. But the main element or the main platform that you'll be working with is your Microsoft Word. So last time we were working with Insert, but there is a lot of aspects that we also didn't work with on Insert. There is our design, which helps us to have a design for some elements that we've got. We've got our layout. Maybe let me go back to design. So if you remember our styles, we can actually work with our styles and how our text works. So for example, if I select a style or a design, it then means whatever I add as a header, for example, it then changes. So that is what our design does. If I select another design, it actually changes the appearance of our existing content, even my text. It then changes to suit the design that I've put. So for example, I can say example here. So if I select the first design, it changes the way everything looks. Each design that I pick gives me a different output or a different layout to how my text looks. So that is what our design does. We've got our layout, which helps us to work with the page and how we would want to work with our page. We've got our references, which will also be quite important in our learning, and we'll use this quite often. We've got our mailing, which will give us how we can actually write multiple letters in one instance. We've got our review, which helps us in the content that we would have put on our document. We've also got our view, which helps us work with a different perspective of each of our word elements. So let's try and have somewhat some of the basic pointers in each of these elements, and we can be able to see what they do. So the last thing we were on was the insert. So we looked at links, and that was one of the options that we worked with. But there are certain things that you would need to work with on your document. So let's just remove everything. The first element we want, we might have to reduce the screen so that we can see what the element are, because we'll need to see the top of the screen. We've got a header and a footer, which the top of the page contains our header, the bottom of the page contains our footer. So we can select a header, and then it gives us options of what we want from our header. We can select the first blank one, and then we type out information about Word. That then becomes our header. At the same time, we can also move to the footer, and then we select our footer. We can also say this is our document. So if we close, the top section of our page has information about Word. The bottom section has this is our document. So this is our header and our footer. At the same time, we can also design what the header and the footer contain. So we can also change and add different elements to our header. For example, it should be possible to put a date It's also possible to put document info. It's also possible to add different elements that you'd want to add to your header. Same applies to your footer. You can also put a page number and the formatting of that particular page. So you can edit the header and the footer um, according to elements that you want to put in the header or the footer of your page. From there, some of these elements you might need to use them, but they're not that necessary. So we can skip some of them. But if you've got questions, you can just go through them and see what they achieve. Design we've already looked at and we've seen what it can do for us. Maybe one other element you might need is a comment. So comments pretty much can be values that you get from your tutor, your lecturer, your coach. Let's say you've got some text, right? This text then gets a comment. So you just select the text and then you put a comment, and then the comment is you have not answered the question. That can be a comment. So what this then means now is in your document, you can have more than one comment, and they are actually put to the right side of your document. And if you click on the text, it will then show you what that comment is about. So you might have comments put on your document for various reasons. Let's say it's been marked or whatever might have happened to the document. You will have comments. At the same time, we can also have a bookmark. What is a bookmark? Bookmark simply means we have our text, we go on bookmark, and then we put a name for the bookmark. So let's say we call it point. We then select add, and then this becomes a bookmark. In its simplest form, a bookmark simply is a reference point, which also takes us back to our links. If you remember our links, if I go to my links, I then say place in this document, I can now see point because a bookmark and my heading will almost give us the same reference. So that is what our bookmark can do. Questions, please. From there, let's go to the next aspect. So the next aspect that we want to work with, like we said, we are dealing with creating documents or making a document work. The next aspect that we want to work with is somewhat complex, but also very necessary. So, for the most part, you then work with documents. Let's say I go to my documents. I should have some documents with me somewhere. Let's just open and look for some documents. In my documents, I'd prefer maybe a document that is a book of some sort or a reference of some sort. Okay, there's this, which is a document that I've just found. Not relevant to what we're doing, but can be a reference point. So let's say we want to have a reference. How do our references work? Yes, we've got this, and it's like a journal that gives us something, and we've got reference. So maybe let me do a change in the size so that we see what we want to learn from this. Okay, so for example, on this particular document, you can see this, right? It says bracket 25, comma bracket. So what this is a reference point. And then that reference point means at the end of the document. At the end of the document, there is a 25 somewhere. And what is 25? 25 is a document that exists somewhere. So this is what 25 contains. 25 is that person, that person, that person. I think maybe we can copy this and put it in Word so that we can be able to see it better. Right. So that is what our 25 gives us. I think I can now increase this. The size. 25 gives us the following. First of all, a letter, a surname, a letter and a surname, a letter and a surname until we get to the end. Right? So these are the authors. We then have the title, which is in quotation. We then have the name of the document, which is this one. We then have a year. We then have the pages that have been used. So in other words, we're then saying we then need to know how to do this. And this is, in short, referencing. So how do we make a reference? We come to our references and then we go to where it says citations and bibliography, right? So if we go to bibliography and we just select a bibliography, it will tell you there are no sources in this current document. So how then do we add sources? To add the source, we then do the following. We go to manage sources, and then we get this pop-up. It then shows us if we've got any sources or if we don't have any sources. If there are no sources, we then select new, and then a pop-up comes up. So what we want to do when we're working this, we want to create a list of sources that we'll be able to use to reference whatever content that we've got. So let's say we want to work with the same type of sources that we've got here. We then need to say, if we want to reference this, we then need to select the first name of the individual. We come back to our word. We put them as the author, right? If we can add others. If there's just one person, we can leave that person in that particular order, or we can copy all the other authors as they come. That's the first thing. The next thing is you've also got a list that you can follow, which is the title, the year, the city, and the publisher. That's if it's a book. The next thing we then need to take is the title of the book or the reference. We copy, we come there, we paste. I don't know why I didn't copy everything, but it's addressing failure prediction by learning model confidence. So failure, we can leave it at that. We also need the year, which is maybe 2019. The city, we need the publisher. We click on OK, and then now we have a reference. If we click on close and we redo our bibliography, we now have a reference. Okay, we'll start again. Let's say we have been typing our document, we have a reference. So at this particular point, let's say we want to put our reference there. So a person says it has been proved by. We now need to put our reference. So our reference comes there. But we have not put that individual yet. So how do we do it? We go to insert, and then if this is the author, we click on the author. So that's the person who said whatever it is that they said, blah, 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 blah. And then we also say the next author disputes this claim. And then now we need to put another reference. So let's add another reference. So you go to insert citation. We then say add new source. And then in this particular instance, now let's see the types of sources. So we can have a book section, journal article in a periodical, report, website, document from website, electronic source, art, sound recording, performance, film, interview, patent, case, etc. So let's say we want to put a different type of reference. So we pick a journal article, and then it gives us the following. So we need the author, the title, the name of the journal, the year, and the page. So this becomes important because no matter what you will publish, you would need to have these references, and it's good to practice before you get to your dissertation. So let's just go through what this gives us, and we can roughly summarize some of the things that we need to learn, and we can proceed from there. So the author, let's say it's more than one author. How then do we do it? We can say the first author and their surname, the next author and their surname, the next author and their surname, the next author and their surname. The next thing we need is the title. The next element we need is the name of the journal. We need the year. We also need the pages. We click on OK, and then that then becomes our reference. One more time, let's add another type of reference. We go to Insert, we then go to Add New Source, and then we follow whatever has been written in the particular source that we want to work with. We click on OK, and then we have our reference. So we can pick a different kind of reference, and then we just put some text. We click on OK, and then we have our reference. At the same time, in our bibliography, we can update it, and then we have all the references that we would have used. Is that clear for everyone, or should I go through it again? Yes. Okay, so for your referencing, here's how it works. Depending on the style of referencing that you're working with, you then need to specify the type of reference. So if I'm to give you an assignment and I say I want a referencing style, you'd have to actually come to where it says style there and then pick the style that I would have told you. So for example, if I say IEEE, I would then update my referencing, and then it shows me every author. If I select a different type of referencing, I select Chicago, it changes the output of the referencing. If I select a different type of referencing style, it will also give me a different output in my bibliography. So the referencing style then gives me the output that I would want to see on my bibliography. Yes, there are many referencing styles. No, it's there. It's there. There's Harvard as well. And that is what it looks. Sorry, why is it still showing this? I guess it's now the styling of how we've put the citation, maybe. But I'm sure you can also be able to edit this and say, no, you can't. But I'm sure there's a way you can be able to modify it to get um, different perspectives. Right. Any more questions?